All right, today we are going to tackle something that can make anyone's palms sweat a little, getting through an airport using English. Our goal here is super simple. Give you the exact phrases you need to sail through your journey from the check-in desk all the way to your seat on the plane, completely stress-free. So let's get you ready for that next big trip. So, does the idea of talking to airline staff or security officers make you just a little bit nervous? If it does, trust me, you are not alone. It's a really common feeling. But don't you worry. By the time we're done here, you are going to have a clear, step-by-step guide to handle every single one of those conversations like a pro. So here's our game plan. We're going to walk through the airport just like you would in real life. We'll kick things off at the check-in counter, then we'll breeze through security, and finally, we'll cover everything you need to know while you're waiting at the gate. Ready? Our journey starts right now.
Okay, first stop, the check-in desk. This is where you'll have your very first important conversation, and, it really sets the stage for the rest of your trip. Getting this part right, it's a huge confidence booster.
Now, before we dive into what to say, let's quickly go over a few essential words. You've got your passport. That's your main ID, of course. Then your boarding pass, which is basically your golden ticket to get on that plane. And finally, your baggage, or luggage. Seriously, these three words are the foundation for everything that's about to happen. This is almost always the very first thing you're going to hear from the check-in agent. They're just asking for your two most important documents. The best tip I can give you is to have them out and ready. Just listen for those two key words, passport and boarding pass. And your reply? Super simple. You just hand over your documents and say, here is my passport and e-ticket. An e-ticket, by the way, is just the electronic ticket you got in your email, which, let's be honest, is what most of us have on our phones these days anyway. All right, next up, they're going to ask about your luggage. When they say baggage to check in, they mean the big suitcases that are going under the plane in the cargo hold. This is totally different from your carry-on, which is that smaller bag you're going to bring onto the plane with you. And here's all you have to say. Just be clear and simple. Tell them exactly how many of each type of bag you have. Something like, I have 2 bags to check in and 1 carry-on bag. That gives them all the info they need, and they'll probably ask you to pop your checked bags on the scale right after. Okay, now for the situation we all hope to avoid, but it's really good to be ready for it. If your bag is too heavy, the key word you need to listen for is overweight. That's the signal that you've gone over the airline's weight limit, and yep, it almost always means you're going to have to pay an extra fee. And this is exactly why listening for numbers is so important. In our example here, the extra charge was $75. Hearing that number clearly helps you make a quick decision. Do you pay the fee, or do you maybe try to shuffle some heavy stuff into your carry-on?
Okay, before you walk away from that counter, you've got to lock in 3 final, super important details. First, your boarding gate number, something like F8. Then your departure time, say 3 p.m. And finally, the boarding time. That's when you actually need to be at the gate, which is usually about 30 minutes before the flight leaves. All right, check-in is done. You did it. Now we're off to the next hurdle, which for a lot of people can be the most intimidating part, airport security. But honestly, it's really just about following a few simple instructions. No sweat. First things first, let's talk about prohibited items. It's just a fancy way of saying stuff you're not allowed to bring on the plane, like the things you see here. A security officer might ask you if you have any, and it's really important to be honest, because you just can't take them with you. The whole screening process is pretty much a simple 3-step dance. First, you'll put all of your stuff on the conveyor belt. Now remember this key instruction. You always have to take your laptop out of its bag and put it in its own separate bin. Why? Well, those dense electronics can kind of block the X-ray machine's view, so this helps them get a clear look. Then, finally, when they give you the signal, you'll just step through the scanner. And then you hear these magic words. When you hear, you are all set, you can take a deep breath and relax. It just means you've passed security, no problem. All that's left is to grab your things from the belt and start walking towards your gates. Phew! You made it through security. Now for the final stretch. You're at the boarding gate. This part is mostly just waiting around, but you have to keep your ears open for some really important announcements about your flight. You're going to hear announcements over the loudspeaker that sound a lot like this one. The key thing is to train your ear to catch 2 specific things, your flight number and your destination. So in this case, Korean Air Flight 128 to New York City. That's how you know the announcement is for you. So one of the first calls you'll probably hear is for pre-boarding. Now, don't just jump up yet. This isn't for everybody. It's a special invitation for people who might need a little extra time and space to get settled, like families with little kids or anyone who needs some special assistance.
And this right here, this is the golden rule for a fast, smooth boarding process. No matter if it's pre-boarding or your turn to board, the announcement will always tell you this. Having your boarding pass and your passport right there in your hand just makes things so much faster for you and for everyone else in line. So, we've gone on the entire journey from the airport entrance all the way to the gate. To wrap it all up, let's put the most important phrases together into a simple toolkit. Think of it as your personal cheat sheet for your next trip. Here it is, your ultimate cheat sheet. It's so simple. On the left, you've got the common questions and commands you're gonna hear. And on the right, you have your easy, perfect responses. From "May I see your passport?" all the way to "Take out your laptop." You've now got a clear, simple answer for every step. And hey, don't forget, sometimes a simple thank you is the most useful phrase of all. So there you have it. With all these tools ready to go, you are prepared. You've got the vocabulary, you know the process, and you have the key phrases to communicate with total confidence. So really, the only question left is the most exciting one of all. Where are you going to fly to next?